The kingdom is not Louis Vuitton, Prada, or Gucci. The kingdom is the kingdom of God. And if I had to choose between spending $5,000 on a bag or $5,000 to an evangelist to hit the streets for a month, I would pick the evangelist. Like. Well, here we are for episode 12 of Wes Reacts. This show is where my team go through TikTok, they find business advice, they put it in front of me, and I comment on it. In case you've never been here before, my name's Wes Hone. I'm a businessman. I'm a radical believer in the Lord Jesus Christ. And one of my favorite things to do is put those two things together. All right, let's get into today's advice.
Let's say you're calling them back 2 months later when, for whatever reason, they didn't move forward. I just had time in between appointments to get with you. That implies that you're busy. Or I just had a few minutes before my next appointment to get back to you. Did I get you at a bad time? More than likely, 99% of them are going to say, it's okay, I'm good. Because you just said, I just had a few minutes before my next appointment. So they're associating like, oh, it's only going to take a few minutes. Once you get into that conversation and you start to pull off the layers and you build the gap, they lose track of time because now they're so engaged in the conversation. They don't even think like, oh, it's been 5 minutes or it's been 10 minutes. They're engaged. So they're moving around their schedule to meet with you.
Well, the headline here is how not to be salesy, and I feel like that was quite salesy. The essence is right because by saying I'm calling in between meetings, I've got a couple of minutes or whatever, you are putting the person you're calling at ease because you're not trying to take lots of time. That bit's cool. But the between appointments thing, or I just had a few minutes thing, that's still a little bit 1980s Gordon Gekko, greed is good. And I'm not a fan. And I'm not a fan, not because it doesn't work, but because the market is becoming so smart and educated that those strategies, we can see through them all, right? The problem is with like, I've only got a few minutes, is it's so laced with ego. Your customers don't care anymore whether you're busy or not busy. What they care about is can you look after them at the time that they need to be looked after, right? So a slight variation, right, would just be like, hey, Bob, it's Wes. Listen, I just wanted to catch you for 60 seconds and then go in, right? Not like, because I'm busy, because I've got lots on, because I'm a big deal. None of that, right? Just humanize all of this a lot more. And you will find that you get a better response than that. It's okay. It's not great.
Simply don't care. Walk in and just say, hey, I'm here for the 2 o'clock appointment. How's your day going? Good. Where are you guys from? And just start having a casual conversation. And instead of going, well, I'm with this company and we do this and we do this. And one thing I think would be really, instead just change it to, yeah, so I know you guys were looking into technology, specifically in CRMs. I mean, I saw that you guys have grown into this channel as far as the tech industry. What made you guys want to look into something different? It's a big change, and honestly, it's a lot to switch CRMs. What made you want to even do it? And just sit back and listen. And when you're subtle and you're indirect and you come across as an expert that just knows what they're talking about, but really doesn't care if they end up doing it, not only does it make them want it more, but it shows that you're someone that they can reveal tons of information to because you're simply helping them and you're guiding them down a path that they're not binded to and they're not forced to go in a direction just so you can make a paycheck.
It doesn't make them want it more. That is not true, but being authentic will help you get in rapport. I love this guy's approach to just being chatty because it's being human again, right? And because everybody knows human behavior now more than ever, right? Because we're pushed with so many messages and videos and things like that. We understand human behavior, non-audio cues. We understand, the fact that the majority of our communication is not words. We're all so sharp with that stuff that the minute it tries to become something that it isn't, it falls over. So the approach is great, where he started the video around like, just chat with them and just be human. That is the answer. If you look at the trend, the buying trend over 30 odd years, you go back 30 years when I first started doing sales and sales training, it was all about sales techniques and the hard close at the end, right? And over time, it's progressed. It is now literally stacked so much the other way that 90 to 95% of somebody buying from you is that the fact that they know, like, and trust you. That's it, right? You're in rapport and they gel with you. If they do that, the rest is easy. Because remember, we live in an era now where the customer is more educated than ever before. The features, the advantages, the benefits, they're important in some environments, but more important than features, advantages, and benefits, because I can ask AI to give me an outline of your products, what the reviews are, the good, the bad, and the ugly, in 60 seconds. What matters most is, are you a good person? Do I trust you? Are you going to be around for the long haul? Can I get to know you beyond just a transaction? That stuff, if you skew, like you said, if you skew that at the start and just be human, you will close more deals.
3 psychology hacks to increase sales. 1, limit supply to create fear. 2, make customers feel like they earned it. 3, make customers feel exclusive. This triggers decision-making around pain and pleasure. Don't sell your product or service, sell the feeling.
He should have just cut that video in half, got the first 70%, put it in the bin, and just run the last 30%. Yes, people are motivated by emotions before they're ever motivated by logic. That bit's true. But that whole like fear of missing out thing, oh my gosh, that stuff's putrid. It doesn't work. If it is ever legitimate, if it's legitimate, right? Like there is only 2 of these left, and if you don't buy one of these 2, there's no more. Legitimate, honest, integral. If you actually find yourself in that situation, then that's a cool thing to say, but not a technique and not a psychological technique. Listen, as soon as I heard psychological techniques, I'm like, it's not going to work because the marketplace are too smart. We've just got to stop the silly games and add a lot more human element to the sale.
Sir, Andy Elliott. What's your name? Ashton. Nice to meet you, Ashton. Would it be okay if I had the honor of serving you today, or are you here to see someone else?
Show me what you got.
My man. Again, Ashton, my name's Andy Elliott. Just put a name with the face now that I'll be dealing with you. My job today is to give you world-class customer service and take care of you and your family and all the highest levels that are important to you. What brought you in today? What are you looking for?
New truck.
New truck? Awesome. Come on this way. By the way, what can I get you to drink? Something hot or cold to drink?
I'm good.
Oh, no, I got to get you something. Listen, if you come to my house, my wife's going to feed you, okay? So I'll get you something hot to drink, cold to drink. I'll get you an empty cup. I don't care. I got to get you something. What do you want?
I guess I'll take a coffee.
What did I do? Number 1, I just completely paradigm shift him. And now, number 1, he sees that I care. Also, number 2, I just took control. I mean, I'm 30 seconds into the deal, and I own this guy. Now, listen to me. I know a lot of you say, well, I wouldn't let that happen. Trust me, I do it every single time. When a sniper takes you out, people are like, I would never let that sniper take me out. You would never know there was a sniper there.
Interesting video. I feel like Andy's put on a little bit of weight there. I feel like he might need to raise his standards a little bit. Putting on a bit of percentage of body fat there, Andy. You know, might want to go and figure a few things out. You know, it's funny. Obviously, he's an American market largely. I'm an Australian, and normally stuff doesn't carry over. But one of the things about that approach that Andy takes is you really can't not like it. Because I feel like if somebody else was to try and replicate what he did there as a technique, it wouldn't feel natural. But because Andy's done it so many times, and I feel like Andy has a very legitimate care for the customer, and that's the separator. The separator is not the words he said and the tone he used and the energy he brought. They're really important keys, but somebody else could mimic a lot of that and it wouldn't have the same level of authenticity, right? But Andy legitimately cares about the person that's in front of him, and you can see it as an example. So I'm a fan of going over the top and like double dosing the care factor and the engagement with the prospect. It's brilliant. It's gonna win you more sales than trying to be weird and aloof. But if you don't have that legitimate care and you just care about the check, the transaction, the selling of the car, whatever, you're gonna try and replicate Andy and it is gonna be a national embarrassment if you try and do that. But he has that legitimate care, and that's the separator. So a lot of people will go and watch Andy's stuff and be like, this is the script. Okay, cool, that's a good script, and this is how we did it, and this is the energy, and this is the type of handshake, and this is where he looked cool, but it's gotta come from that place of loving people. That's the thing that's gonna make people go, this is intense, but I think he's legit, and then enroll people in the sale.
The most important thing in sales, number 1, above everything, and this is a strong statement for me to say, is frame. The context under which the conversation is happening. So you can be the most skilled salesperson in the world, and you will sell less than somebody who has a line out the door because of how much value they've provided every single person in that line. It doesn't matter if you're the best person in the world. Fewer people will buy from you if they've never met you, you've provided nothing to them. If you're trying to sell more, learning all the mechanics of sales, overcomes, etc., is worthwhile, is important, but you're missing the biggest one, which is you build brand, you provide value first so that you don't have to.
Well, of course he's right. He didn't come up with it. Branding has been around forever and a day. And, branding is the non-quantifiable marketing that you do, right? It's communicating your values and your ethics and what you stand for, and the company vibe out into the marketplace, expecting nothing in return. That would be a way of putting it. Sort of like this video, right? And, if I think about us, we started with Business Greenhouse TV back in 2015, producing a weekly show, and we've done content from then to now, every single week without missing any between 2015 and now. That's all the branding. Now, the upside of that is that when we host an event, we have people that want to be involved. That's what he means. You're basically attracting. Brand attracts a bunch of customers and marketing goes and gets them, right? So, as a company, we would have 2 to 5 people a day that go out of their way to call the office, send in an email or send a DM to be like, I want to start working with you. That's not marketing. That's not outbound lead gen. That's just what comes, organically. And we just, work with whatever. But what happens if you don't have brand? What if you're a startup and you don't have the luxury? Because that does take time and it takes momentum. The good news is if you're starting now, building brand has never been easier and never been cheaper than it is right now. So that's a real bonus for the people that are starting now. But if you don't have any brand, you better get good at sales because that's all you've got to fall back on. But if you don't have brand, you should really consider going really hard on brand building starting in the next 8 minutes. It's so simple, right? It's a pair of AirPods and a phone and you record and you start putting stuff out. And if you look at the landscape right now, you've got long form and short form across most of the platforms that matter. I think if I was starting from scratch, I would just do short form. Like that would be my way of building a massive amount of momentum. I would just do shorts and reels and TikToks because they're in the discovery element of the apps. Whereas the long form kind of sits in a library that people have to go and find. It's not that clear cut, but it's kind of going that way. So the way I would do it is if I were you, I would produce 100 pieces of short content between 1 and 3 minutes. I would put it across the platforms that matter. And then I would go and start making longer form. And that way you're going to start to get a lot of early momentum. That's how I would build brand if I was just starting out.
You are so hungry for business. The phone isn't ringing. No one's calling. Money's not coming in. You go, okay, let's try it at a reduced fee. Never, ever try it at a reduced fee. You know what you'd rather do? Do it for free. And then at the end of the month, I used to do this. Do it for free, and at the end of the month, send them a notional invoice. The hip hop heads would know what notional invoices. You guys see the fight that Drake had with Pusha T? Yes. Yeah. What did Drake do when he replied to Pusha T? He sent him an invoice. He said, because now you're attacking me, nobody knew who you were, now they know who you are, I'm going to send you an invoice for marketing. And he sent him an invoice. And then he published it on Twitter. I'm just going to do the analysis. In other words, I'm going to overstate the problem that you've identified. And I'm going to give you that report for free. That report usually costs 50,000 Rand. So I'm going to send you the report, but because I have to dedicate man hours to it, I'm going to send you the report with an invoice, and I'm going to invoice you the full fee, and I'll discount the full fee. He now gets a report of all his people, and an invoice that says 50,000 Rand, discount 50,000 Rand. In his mind, it never escapes his mind that this thing was worth 50,000. Now you sit back and you wait. Because if you say, I charge 50, but I'm willing to take 25, Vusi now starts going, this thing is worth 25. Don't reduce price.
All sounds wonderful until the rent payment's due. I think the notion's fine, but it's not commercial. I think you could frame exactly the same thing and get 25,000 Rand in his example. I think you go to the customer and you'll be like, right, it's 50,000, and here's all the reasons why it's worth 50,000. If they're not a customer that can pay 50,000, it's not a sales issue, it's a marketing issue. You have the wrong audience. If you then decide to still work with the customer because you'd rather make 25,000 Rand than no Rand, then you actually say to them, I'm discounting it by half, and my expectation in return is you are going to do this. The notion or invoice thing, not a fan. But use it in some way. You might say, right, I'm going to discount it. I'm going to discount it once, but my expectation is we're going to story tell it, we're going to capture it, case study your thing, we're going to get a testimonial from you at the end if you're happy, and that's my reason for discounting. See, the problem with doing it for free is, where's your money coming from for marketing to get a better customer next time?
I'm going to make you great at sales. Sales is one of my superpowers, I like to think. And it amazes me how hard sales is for most people. So let me start by asking questions. Please send me all the questions you have about sales, and I'll get back to some of them and share what I know and see maybe it'll help you.
Now, I think I can see what the team are doing here by loading this up with sales trainings. They want me to tell you about the greatest event that has ever happened in the year of 2024. It is coming up on the 20th of November on the Gold Coast and live stream, depending on where you are around the world. I am doing a one-day closers training where we'll be demything all of these sleazy, dumb sales strategies from 1996 that don't work anymore. And I'll be teaching you how to handle objections, how to follow up diligently so you close more deals, how to ask very smart questions, how to build confidence so you can become that confident salesperson. We're going to be doing all of this in one day. We're going to be doing role play of sales. We're going to be writing scripts. We're going to be building out your sales process to get your prospect hungry, all in one day with enough time there for me to answer your specific questions. The way you can find out more, though, is you go to businessgreenhouse.com.au/sales. There's only a handful of spots left. You should be there. Some people call me Wes. You should call me now.
In your business, never talk about the product. Talk about the problem that you're solving. No one cares what product you make. So when you started, what was missing in the market? What was the problem you were solving that you felt Interiors could solve?
Quality furniture that will last you a lifetime.
Slowly. Quality furniture?
Yes.
That will last you?
A lifetime.
Why would I want my furniture to last a lifetime?
The second most expensive thing in a home is furniture.
Okay, so it's a little bit about cost saving.
The design, it's more of antique. So design
Thank you.
there.
Thank you.
Yes,
Whoa. Wait. So Anne thinks she makes quality furniture that's going to last her a lifetime. Anne is wrong. What Anne actually does is she makes timeless pieces of craftsmanship. First, in your language.
Yes.
Never ever say last you a lifetime.
Okay.
Rather say timeless. See, timeless means if I had it 10 years ago, it was cool. If I have it 10 years from now,
Still cool.
still cool. The second is you spoke about saving money. Do you think your customers care about money?
Yes, that's very important.
No, Chief, no. See, when I'm buying something that's timeless, it's not uppermost in my mind saving money. There are things I can do if I want to save money. Which means if you're talking to me about buying your product, saving money is not...
Well, I mostly agree. He says never ever talk about your product. That's not going to work. But you should definitely stack the majority of your conversation to what your product actually gives them, not what the product is. So, for example, I spend most of my days as a business coach. Nobody in the world wants a business coach. Nobody wants an accountant. Nobody wants video production. Nobody wants a lawyer. Nobody wants a gym membership. They all want what those things give them. And you need to get very, very clear with your languaging, like the example here, about what it is that you're giving them that is behind the product that you sell and the service that you sell. That becomes the emotional grab for people to get caught up in what you do. But then you do have to talk about your products and services because that's the logical reason why you can stitch up in their mind that if they go for that, they get that, right? But too many people talk about the logical, practical element. I'm a lawyer. No, you're not a lawyer. You are somebody that can stand in the corner, back me up, stand up for my rights, push back the bullies, secure my future wealth for my generations, blah, 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 blah. They're the things that you actually give me, right? So you've got to figure out what's the benefits, what's the outcomes, of my products and services, and market and sell those initially. And then when you talk about the product, it's going to be an absolute laydown because that's the obvious connector to get the prospect, to get the outcome that you're looking for. The business just becomes the vehicle.
When you go to a luxury store, the sales reps are mean to you on purpose. Sales managers are taught to do two things. One is hire attractive sales reps, and then two is train those attractive sales reps to be slightly rude to everybody that walks into the store. What they're doing, it's so smart. They're identifying themselves as a very high luxury brand, and they're being a little mean to you. That way you feel the need to prove your worth, AKA buy a bag. Essentially, they're telling you that you need to sell yourself the bag instead of them selling you the bag. Because if they don't buy a bag, then it's like, oh, so you're broke, so you're just like in here looking around. And they're literally just playing on power dynamics and making you essentially feel like shit about yourself if you don't buy a bag. It's the same thing with sales. In all my sales teams, I teach them to maintain the frame of expert. What this means is you need to create an insanely high standard that your company withholds and have people identify with that standard. And it's so smart because it leaves people selling themselves to you, not the other way around. And what they're doing is they're creating a buying atmosphere by making you assign yourself to their standards.
I'm never going to know what it looks like to shop in those stores. Why? Because I've got a kingdom to expand. And the kingdom is not Louis Vuitton, Prada, or Gucci. The kingdom is the kingdom of God. And if I had to choose between spending $5,000 on a bag or $5,000 to an evangelist to hit the streets for a month, I would pick the evangelist.
In my 20s, I wouldn't want to work in anything other than sales because sales gives you the most upside financially, right? You need to make more money, just go hustle harder. Let me help you. There's very few environments where you can do that. Yeah, you got a salaried position somewhere, you're like, hey, if I do twice as much this week, will I get paid more? If you could do twice as much, do it, but you're not getting paid more. What? In sales, the harder you work, the more you make.
Well, I completely agree, actually, and I agree not because of the amount of money you can make, because of the skill set. When you know sales, you can literally sell yourself out of 99.9% of problems for the rest of your life. When you don't know sales, you're at the mercy of everybody else. If I think about when, where this all started for me, I grew up in London. At the age of 14, I came to Australia with my family. We landed on a Wednesday, and by Friday of that week, I had my first unpaid job because I was too young to get paid at a high-end athletic shoe shop called the Athlete's Foot here in Australia. And so I worked for them, I think 9 months before I was old enough to be paid a wage legally, and they paid me in shoes. But I remember going straight into that environment, and my job, like at the very beginning, was on Saturdays and Thursday nights, was just putting the stock away. So at the back of the store, there's obviously racks and racks and racks of shoes, and the salespeople, they could literally come out of the back of the shop and dump their shoes that they didn't sell and get back out there and meet another customer. So it sped them up. And then I just put the shoes away, probably for something like $1 an hour when I first started. But I was listening more than I was stacking shoes. I was listening to the conversations. I was in the sales training on a Saturday morning because I just roll in early. And then obviously I then became the manager of that store. I became the manager of multiple stores, and then I got fired. That's a completely different story. But learning sales as a 14-year-old and finding that passion for sales, and it wasn't actually comfortable. I just knew that it was going to be my way out. So learning sales at 14 and then still loving sales today at 45, it has been the practical variable of my success is the ability to take a product or service, language it, and sell it to an audience at scale. I know that if I lost everything tomorrow and the whole real estate empire fell over and the business fell over and everything, I could start selling tomorrow morning and I'd be back off and racing. It is the skill that de-risks your life. It obviously makes you the most amount of money, but I think more important than that, it de-risks your future because you can just turn that on when you need.
When someone says you're too expensive, first, don't try to justify the price. Shut and then ask them, expensive compared to what? They'll probably say something like, well, I know somebody else that's cheaper. Here's how you...
Don't do that. This guy sucks.
Instead of saying, oh, hi, Sally. How are you? How are you doing today? Which sounds like every other salesperson. I could say, hey, Sally, can you see me? Can you hear me okay? We're getting some yeses. From there, I can acknowledge her, which most people don't do this. So, Sally, earlier today, I was, looking up your company, and I saw that recently you guys won, this award, and I saw you featured on Forbes. I really honor you. You must have worked really, really hard to get where you are today, and I see you. I'm giving you a chance for her to be seen, and it's a genuine compliment. I'm not saying, oh my God, I love your hair, Sally. I'm just taking the time to see her effort and what she's been able to do.
I love the notion, right, of the hi, Sally and all that fluffy stuff versus straight into hey, Sally with a question. The difference is authority. That's all it is. It's an authority, and your authority comes from your confidence. An unconfident salesperson is fluffing and beating around the bush, and your customers are so smart that it's like a dog that can sense fear. They know it, and they'll just pick your patch clean. When you can walk in with that authority, then then they tend to match your energy level and so forth. But where does confidence come from? That's the question. Confidence is like like fake it till you make it would be one answer. The problem is that you'll fake it until you don't make it. Your confidence as a salesperson comes from your preparation, nowhere else. It doesn't come from the background, gift of the gab, your disc profile, the school you went to. Your confidence comes from your preparation. So when I'm going onto a call, I already know what I'm going to say. I know what they're likely to say in return, and I know what I'm going to say to what they said in return to what I said. I've already got it. That allows me the confidence to step into authority and just go at it instead of beating around the bush. But your preparation is where your confidence comes from, and your confidence will fuel your authority on the call, which will help you close a lot more sales. Well, that's it. That's the end of episode 12 of Wes Reacts. I want to know from you though, which is your favorite piece of advice? If you don't agree with what I say, that's okay. I need you to comment, and you can hate me all you like. I love your negative comments just for the algorithm. But do me a favor, subscribe to my channel, put a thumbs up on the video, comment, and do me a favor, share this with somebody, please. I'm dying over here making all these videos, and I noticed that you haven't shared anywhere near enough of these. So do Uncle Wes a favor and share the video. Love you. See you soon.